Picture yourself in the wilderness, the sun burning hot above, the sound of the wind howling through narrow passageways, and the eerie silence of the desert. You're miles from help, with no one around. Now, imagine that you get trapped. Your arm is pinned by an 800-pound boulder, and the only thing standing between you and death is your will to survive. This is the true story of Aron Ralston, a man who was pushed to his breaking point. A man who not only survived, but triumphed over what seemed like an impossible situation. In April 2003, Aron Ralston set off on what was supposed to be a simple, solo hiking trip in Blue John Canyon, Utah. It was a place he had been before, known for its rugged beauty and remote solitude. Aron was a seasoned mountaineer and adventurer. The idea of hiking alone was something he enjoyed, relishing the peace of the desert landscape. But what started as an ordinary trip would turn into a terrifying struggle for survival. On this particular day, Aron packed light, only the essentials: water, some snacks, and a pocket knife. He was well prepared for a day of exploration. But Blue John Canyon is unforgiving, and even seasoned hikers can quickly find themselves in dangerous situations. As Aron descended into the canyon's narrow passageways, the beauty of the land was captivating. He was alone, but in his element. Yet, this serene landscape would soon become a prison. While navigating through a particularly tight section, Aron made a critical misstep. A large boulder, dislodged by his movement, came crashing down, trapping his right arm against the rock. The boulder weighed an astounding 800 pounds, far too heavy for a single person to lift. His arm was pinned in a way that made it impossible for Aron to shift the rock, no matter how hard he tried. Panic briefly set in. He knew the dangers of being alone, far from any civilization. No one knew where he was, and his chances of rescue seemed slim. As the hours turned into the first day, Aron did everything he could to free himself. He used his arms, legs, and even his body weight. But the boulder remained immovable. The scorching sun, the pain from his trapped arm, and the realization that no one was coming to help caused Aron's thoughts to spiral. He could feel the heat of the day intensifying, and his water was beginning to run out. Over time, the desperation began to set in. His once optimistic thoughts turned to fear. The isolation was unbearable. He screamed, hoping someone would hear him, but the vastness of the canyon swallowed his cries. The thoughts of his family, his friends, and what his life meant to him began to overwhelm him. With no way to communicate, Aron knew that the only person who could help him now was himself. By the second day, Aron realized the harsh truth. He would not be rescued in time. The canyon was remote, and his cries had gone unheard. His supplies were limited. His arm was growing more painful by the hour, and dehydration was starting to set in. The pain from the boulder pressing down on his arm was excruciating. But even worse, Aron could feel the life slipping away from him. At that moment, Aron made a decision. He would have to fight. Fight against the rock, against the wilderness, and against his own fear. The physical pain was unbearable, but it was the mental battle that would be his greatest challenge. Would he surrender to the hopelessness of the situation, or would he find a way to break free? Days passed. Aron's situation became more desperate. He had no way of contacting anyone, and as the days wore on, his body began to weaken. Dehydration set in. His arms swelled with blood and bruises. But despite the pain and the overwhelming isolation, Aron never gave up. He would not let the canyon claim him. On the sixth day, the unimaginable became his only hope for survival. Aron had no choice but to amputate his own arm. With his pocket knife, a small, dull blade, he began the unimaginable task of cutting through the flesh, muscle, and bone of his own arm. It was excruciatingly painful, but Aron understood that the choice was clear: cut off his arm and escape, or die alone in the canyon. It took hours, hours of relentless, torturous cutting. The knife wasn't sharp enough and the pain was unimaginable, but Aron was resolute. Finally, after what seemed like a lifetime of struggle, his arm was free. He had done what most people would have thought impossible. He had severed his own limb to survive. Aron was still far from safety. He had to climb out of the canyon despite his injuries. Bloodied and exhausted, Aron crawled and hiked for hours, his body weak, his spirit stronger than ever. His ultimate goal was to reach civilization, to find help before the blood loss and exhaustion claimed him. As Aaron continued his journey, he came across a group of hikers. They were shocked by his appearance, but quickly called for help. A helicopter arrived to airlift him to safety. Aaron was airlifted to a nearby hospital, where doctors worked tirelessly to save his life. He had lost over half of his body's blood supply, and his recovery would take months. But Aaron was alive, and against all odds, he had survived one of the most harrowing ordeals anyone could imagine. Aaron's story captivated the world. It was a tale of grit, courage, and the unyielding will to survive. In the years that followed, Aaron reflected on his journey. He wrote a memoir called Between a Rock and a Hard Place, which was later adapted into the film 127 Hours, starring James Franco. Aron Ralston's story is not just one of survival. It is a testament to the power of the human spirit. He proved that even when faced with the unthinkable, the strength to survive lies within us all. His journey reminds us that the will to live is one of the most powerful forces on earth. Aron Ralston didn't just survive, he triumphed. And through his story, we are reminded that no matter how difficult life may seem, we always have the power to fight for another day. What would you do in a life or death situation like Aaron's? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring real-life survival stories, and share this video with others. Stay strong, and remember, survival is more than just a physical challenge, it's a mental one too.